Hey guys, and welcome back. Tonight, our story does not follow a king, a warrior, or an explorer. We are walking in the footsteps of a man whose battlefield was a stone altar, and whose weapons were prayers and a razor-sharp obsidian knife. You are a middle manager in the most demanding corporation in the world, the Aztec priesthood. Your performance is judged by the gods, your deadlines are set by the stars, and you're about to miss a very, very important quota. So, before the drums begin to beat, if you enjoy these journeys into the more stressful side of history, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It truly does help. And as always, let me know in the comments what time it is where you are and where you're joining us from tonight. Alright, dim the lights, close your eyes, and let the smoke of copal incense fill the air. You awaken not to a sound, but to a familiar pain. It is the sharp, insistent sting in your earlobes, and the deep, throbbing ache in your calves. A debt of blood you paid to the gods in the hours before you slept. This pain is your first reminder of your duty. Your second is the cold. The stone floor of your small, windowless chamber in the great temple complex has seeped into your bones through the thin reed mat, leaving you stiff and chilled. There is no gentle dawn here, in the heart of the sacred precinct. There is only the absolute oppressive blackness, and then, eventually, a lesser blackness. You can smell it before you can see it. The air is thick with the holy scent of burnt copal incense from the eternal fires, the faint, sweet smell of flowers from the temple gardens, and something else, something coppery and sacred that clings to the very stones, the smell of old blood. You do not rise with a groan. You have been trained to offer up your pain, not to complain of it. You uncurl your body from the floor, each movement precise and deliberate. A wave of dizziness washes over you, a consequence of the ritual fast that has been your constant companion for days. Your stomach is a hollow, aching void. Hunger is a state of being, a constant prayer of emptiness you offer to the gods. You are a priest of Tlaloc, the giver of rain, the lord of sustenance. But lately, he has not been giving. The sky has been a sheet of hard, relentless blue for weeks. The maize, the lifeblood of your people, is beginning to wither in the Chinampas, and the responsibility for that failure falls not on the farmers, but on you. Your first thought of the day is not of prayer, but of logistics. A mental checklist begins, a frantic accounting of resources and deadlines. The festival of Huitzilopochtli is in 3 days. The offerings must be ready. The turquoise vessels, the jade beads, the ceremonial paper spattered with liquid rubber, and the most important offering, the most difficult to procure, the attendants, the children. Your quota, delivered by the high priest himself, was clear. And you know, with a cold dread that is more chilling than the stone floor, that you are behind schedule. You stand in the darkness of your cell, the pain in your body a dull rhythm beneath the sharp, piercing anxiety in your mind. You are a servant of the gods, a keeper of the cosmic balance, a vital gear in the great machinery of the universe. But in this moment, you feel only the crushing, terrifyingly modern weight of a manager who knows he is about to fail, and who knows the consequences of that failure are not a poor quarterly report, but the anger of a god, the starvation of a people, and the potential unraveling of the world itself. The debt of blood you paid last night feels insignificant compared to the debt you owe now. The dread of your failing quota is a cold weight in your stomach, but it cannot be addressed until the day's first, most important debt is paid, the debt of purity. You move from your cell, your bare feet silent on the cold, polished stone of the corridor. The only light comes from the flickering torches set in high brackets along the walls, casting your shadow long and distorted behind you, a dark companion that dances and writhes as you walk. The great temple is a city unto itself, and at this hour it is a city of ghosts. The silence is absolute, broken only by the faint, distant echo of a conch shell trumpet, signaling a changing of the guard at the outer walls. Your destination is the sacred Tezcatli, the House of Mirrors, a courtyard containing the pools of purification. As you step out from the covered corridors and into the open air, the pre-dawn cold bites with a new intensity. The sky above is not yet gray, but a deep, star-flecked indigo. The moon, a sliver of bone, hangs over the silent pyramids. The pools are carved from black volcanic stone, their surfaces perfectly still, reflecting the stars so clearly that it feels as though you are standing on the edge of the night sky itself. There are other priests here, dark shapes moving silently in the gloom, each engaged in their own private ritual. No words are exchanged. The business of purification is a solitary one. You undo the simple knot of your loincloth and let it fall to the stone floor. For a moment, you stand naked before the gods, vulnerable not just to the cold, but to their all-seeing eyes. The pain in your earlobes and calves feels sharper now, a fiery throb against the chill on your skin. It is a reminder that your body is not your own. It is a vessel, an instrument for placating the divine. You approach the edge of the pool. You do not hesitate. To hesitate is to show weakness, to admit the flesh has power over the spirit. You descend the stone steps and submerge yourself in the water. The cold is a physical blow. It is a clean, absolute shock that drives the air from your lungs in a sharp, involuntary gasp. It feels as if 1,000 obsidian knives are piercing your skin, stripping away not just the grime of sleep, but warmth, comfort, and all thought. Your muscles seize, and for a terrifying second, you cannot move. This is the purpose of the ritual, to annihilate the self, to shock the spirit into a state of heightened awareness. When the initial shock subsides into a deep, trembling ache, you begin the chant. Your voice is a low murmur, the words ancient, spoken in the formal, high nahuatl of ceremony. You offer praises to Tlaloc, Lord of the earthly paradise. You acknowledge his power. You describe his jeweled network of rivers and streams, and you beg his forgiveness for your own unworthiness. The vapor of your breath plumes in front of you, a fleeting offering to the cold night air. The ritual demands complete immersion. You take a final breath and push yourself under the dark, star-dusted surface. The silence beneath the water is total. It is the silence of the womb of the grave. It is a symbolic death. You stay under until your lungs burn, until spots of light dance behind your eyelids. You emerge, gasping, reborn into the cold air. The ritual is complete. You climb from the pool, your body numb, your skin a deathly white in the gloom. The pain from your bloodletting has returned, a dull, persistent fire. But your mind is sharp, clear, and utterly focused. The petty anxieties of the body have been burned away by the cold. All that remains is the singular, terrifying clarity of your purpose. You do not dry yourself with a cloth. The water must evaporate naturally, taking the last of your impurities with it. You walk to a stone bench where your daily vestments are laid out. You unwrap the black-dyed cotton, the cloth stiff and smelling of incense. As you wrap the robes around your shivering body, you are no longer the sleeping man with his aches and pains. You are transforming. You are putting on your uniform, dressed now in the stark black robes of your order. You are ready. The ordeal of the water is over, but it has only prepared you for the far greater ordeal of the day. Your mind, now honed to a razor's edge by the cold, turns from matters of the spirit to matters of the ledger. The quota, the children, the meeting with the high priest. You are purified, You are focused, and you are filled with a cold, clear, and profound dread. You leave the House of Mirrors, your damp robes clinging to your skin, a second, colder layer of flesh. You walk towards the great twin pyramids that form the heart of the world, the Templo Mayor. One temple is dedicated to Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird god of war, his shrine painted a stark, bloody red. Yours is the other, the Temple of Tlaloc, painted a brilliant blue and white, a monument to the water that you have failed to summon. Your destination lies within its sacred structure, the chambers of the High Priest. As you walk, the world begins to wake. The first rays of the sun strike the very top of the great temple, setting the shrine ablaze with a golden light that has not yet touched the courtyards where you walk. You move through a world of long, deep shadows. The air is still cold, but it is now filled with the first sounds of the temple's daily life. You hear the rhythmic swish-swish of reed brooms as novices, their bodies shivering in the chill, sweep the great flagstones clean of the previous day's dust and blood. From the Kalmakak, the school for young nobles and priests, you hear the faint, disciplined sound of chanting, the lessons of the day already beginning. You pass the great Sompontli, the skull rack. Hundreds of bleached white skulls, taken from past offerings, stare at you with empty sockets. In the growing light, they seem to watch you, a silent counsel of your predecessors, a testament to duties fulfilled. You feel their judgment in your own inadequacy. The path to the High Priest's chambers is not a horizontal one. It is a climb. You begin to ascend the monumentally steep staircase of Tlaloc's pyramid. The steps are high and narrow, designed to force you into a posture of humility, to make you feel the strain of approaching a god. Each step is a physical effort, your fasting-lightened head spinning with the altitude. The city of Tenochtitlan spreads out below you, a breathtaking tapestry of canals, causeways, and white-walled buildings. But you take no notice of the beauty. Your eyes are fixed on the steps ahead. This is a walk towards judgment. Your mind races, a frantic scramble for excuses where none exist. You rehearse the conversation, the report you must give. The tribute from Xochimilco has been delayed, honored one. It sounds weak. The count of attendance is fluid. It is a lie, and the High Priest will see through it instantly. He is a man who can read the shifting of the winds and the patterns of the stars. He will surely read the clumsy deceit on your face. You see other priests on the stairways and platforms. A procession from Huitzilopochtli's temple passes, their faces grim and proud, their robes still stiff with the blood of a recent warrior sacrifice. Their quota is met with conquest, their god fed by the strength of the empire. A surge of bitter, professional jealousy rises in you. Their task is straightforward. Yours is a delicate, desperate negotiation with the elements, dependent on the tears of children and the timely arrival of tribute from towns that might, for any reason, fail you. You reach the upper platform, your breath short from the climb and from a lack of sleep. Before you is the entrance to the High Priest's private chambers, a doorway covered by a heavy curtain woven with the symbols of Tlaloc, herons, water lilies, and coiled serpents. 2 temple guards, their faces impassive stone, stand on either side. They do not acknowledge you, but you feel their presence. Their stillness, another layer of pressure. You stand before the curtain for a long moment, composing yourself. You smooth your black robes. You force your breathing to slow, to betray none of the panic that is churning in your stomach. You are a priest of the Mexica. You are a pillar of the cosmos. You must not appear weak. You must not appear afraid. You are both of those things. With a final, silent prayer to a God you are not sure is listening, you raise your hand and scratch softly on the wooden frame of the doorway. You have arrived. The time for accounting is at hand. A soft voice from within the chamber bids you enter. You push aside the heavy woven curtain and step across the threshold. The air inside is warm and thick, a stark contrast to the biting cold of the morning. A single large brazier of glowing coals provides both heat and a dim reddish light. The room smells of old paper, dried herbs, and the highest quality copal incense, a scent so pure and powerful it seems to cleanse the very air you breathe. The walls are lined with shelves holding dozens of folded, screen-like books, the sacred codices that contain the history of your people, the wisdom of the gods, and the precise calendars that govern all life. This is the chamber of knowledge and power. This is the heart of your priesthood. The high priest of Tlaloc sits on a low carved wooden chair at the far end of the room. He is ancient, a man made of wrinkled parchment and bone, his long thin hair as white as the herons of the lake. He is draped in magnificent blue and white robes, but his power does not come from his attire. It comes from his stillness. He does not move, does not even seem to breathe, but his eyes, small and dark under heavy lids, are fixed on you. They are eyes that have seen 100 cycles of the seasons, that have watched kings and warriors come and go. They see everything. You do not approach directly. You perform the ritual greeting of deference, bowing your head low and keeping your own eyes fixed on the stone floor. You are a junior priest in the presence of a man who communes with a god. You may speak. His voice is a dry rustle, like leaves skittering across stone. Honored one, you begin, your own voice sounding weak and thin in the powerful silence of the room. I come to report on the preparations for the great festival of Huitozosli. I am aware of the festival, the high priest says, his voice flat. He makes a small, impatient gesture with one bony hand. I am aware of the date. I am aware of the ongoing drought. I am aware of the withering maize. Speak of what I am not aware of. Are the offerings complete? It is the question you dreaded, asked directly, with no room for evasion. You swallow, your throat dry. The preparations proceed, honored one. We have procured the sacred paper, the quetzal feathers, the jade. But there is a difficulty. The tribute from Xochimilco, which was to include the final 3 attendants. The tribute is late. The high priest finishes your sentence for you. He did not ask about tribute. He asked about offerings. He sees your excuse for the flimsy thing it is. He sighs, a faint, weary sound. The gods do not care for the excuses of men. The cycles of tribute are a political matter. The cycles of the cosmos are a spiritual one. It is your duty to ensure the former serves the latter. He rises slowly, painfully, and shuffles over to a large table where a magnificent codex is unrolled. It is a tonal pawali, a sacred calendar, its pages alive with the vibrant, terrifying glyphs of gods and days. He points with a long, trembling finger. Look, he commands. You step forward, keeping your head bowed. His finger rests on the glyph for the coming festival. Beside it, he points to another, the glyph for drought, a cracked and barren field. The omens are not favorable. The stargazers have seen a disturbance in the heavens. I dreamt last night of a river of dust. Tlaloc is thirsty. He looks up from the codex, and his dark eyes finally meet yours. The disappointment in them is a physical weight. The god requires the tears of 7 pure attendants to placate his thirst and replenish the waters of the earth. He says, his quiet voice cutting through you. 7. It is the number of balance. I am told we have 4. He pauses, letting the silence hang in the air, thick and heavy. This is not a negotiation. This is not a matter of logistics. It is a matter of cosmic debt. The people are thirsty. The maze is thirsty. The god is thirsty. He turns his back on you. A gesture of final dismissal. and returns to his chair. "See that his thirst is quenched," he says without looking at you. "Do not fail him again." You stand frozen for a moment, the words hanging in the air like smoke. There is nothing left to say. You have not been scolded in a loud voice, but you have been utterly condemned. You bow again, a gesture he does not see, and back out of the room, letting the heavy curtain fall behind you. You are back on the high platform. The sun is higher now. The city of Tenochtitlan alive and sprawling below you. The meeting is over. Your failure has been confirmed, your excuses dismissed, and the weight of a dying crop and a thirsty god now rests entirely and unequivocally on your shoulders. You have no answers, only a command you have no idea how to fulfill. You step back from the curtained doorway out onto the high, windswept platform of the pyramid. The sun is brighter now, casting the world in a sharp, unforgiving light. For a moment, you are paralyzed, the high priest's final words echoing in the sudden, vast silence. Do not fail him again. It was not a threat. It was a simple statement of fact. There is no room for another failure. You begin your descent. The great stone staircase, which felt like a climb toward judgment on the way up, now feels like a descent into a pit of despair. Each high, narrow step jars your body, a physical punctuation to your racing thoughts. The magnificent vista of Tenochtitlan, sprawling below you, is no longer a testament to the glory of your people. It is a map of your responsibility. You see the endless white rooftops, the green of the chinampas, the blue of the canals, and you see it all as a million hungry mouths, a million thirsty fields, all looking to you. As you walk through the lower courtyards of the sacred precinct, the temple itself seems to accuse you. This is a place built to remind men of the power and presence of the gods. The stone under your feet is not merely stone. It is the embodiment of the earth monster, Tlahtecutli. The massive, carved serpent heads that form the balustrades of the stairways are not just decoration. They are Sapaptli, the primordial sea monster, a reminder of the chaos that existed before the gods imposed order, an order that you are now failing to maintain. You pass a smaller shrine dedicated to Centeotl, the god of maize. Its altar is decorated with fresh flowers, but you can see that the cobs of corn left as offerings are smaller than they should be, their kernels withered. The stone face of the god seems to stare at you with a silent, hungry reproach. This is the central truth of your existence, the lesson drilled into you since you were a boy in the Kalmakak. The universe is not a garden. It is a machine. A vast, intricate, and terrifyingly fragile machine that requires constant maintenance. The sun does not rise out of habit. It rises because it has fed the precious water of human blood in a daily battle against darkness. The rain does not fall because it is its nature. It falls because Tlaloc is pleased with the offerings he has given. The maize does not grow because it is planted. It grows because the gods will it. And you are one of the engineers. A priest is not just a man of faith. He is a technician of the cosmos. Your rituals, your fasts, your sacrifices, they are not mere symbols. They are the levers and gears that keep the machine running. And right now, as you walk past a carving of Tlaloc, his goggled eyes seeming to follow you, his fanged mouth open in a thirsty snarl, you know you have let a crucial gear slip. The machine is grinding, the cosmic engine is sputtering, and the sound of its failure is the dry rustle of dying corn leaves and the silent prayers of a thirsty people. You see some of them near the outer walls of the precinct. A woman with a small child leaving a single, pathetic-looking flower at a public altar. An old man, his face a mask of worried lines, touching his forehead to the base of the pyramid. They see your black robes, your priestly bearing, and their eyes meet yours for a fleeting moment. In their gaze, you see a desperate, profound hope. They believe in you. They believe that you speak to the gods, that you have the power to fix this. They have placed the burden of their survival in your hands. The weight of their faith is more crushing than the weight of the pyramid itself. You finally reach the cool, dark solitude of your own chamber. You step inside and let the curtain fall, shutting out the light, the people, and the accusing eyes of the stone gods. But there is no relief here. The problem is no longer an abstract number in a codex, no longer a logistical issue of a late tribute. It has become a real and present crisis. The universe is out of balance, and the weight of setting it right, the weight of the entire cosmos, rests on your shoulders alone. You cannot allow despair to paralyze you. It is a luxury, an indulgence, and the gods are not known for their patience. The problem of the 7 attendants is a mountain you do not yet know how to climb. But the other offerings, the sacred materials, are hills you can conquer. Action, even small logistical action, is the only antidote to the terror. You rise from the floor of your chamber, your purpose now narrowed to a single concrete task. You must go to the great marketplace at Tlatelolco. Leaving the hallowed, silent grounds of the Templo Mayor is like stepping into another world. You walk through the Coatapantli, the great serpent wall that separates the sacred precinct from the city, and the atmosphere changes instantly. The air is no longer just filled with the scent of incense, but with the 1,000 smells of life. The wood smoke from countless cooking fires, the pungent aroma of chili peppers being roasted, the earthy smell of the canals. The quiet reverence of the temple is replaced by the vibrant hum of a living city. Your status as a priest affords you certain privileges. You do not have to walk the crowded causeways. You make your way to one of the temple's private docks, where a long, narrow canoe, a kali, awaits, paddled by 2 silent, muscular acolytes. You step into the vessel, and with a smooth, powerful push, you are gliding away from the stone magnificence of the temple and into the watery highways of Tenochtitlan. The journey is a slow procession through the veins of the empire. The canoe moves silently through the dark, brackish water of the canals, which act as the city's main arteries. The world here is one of dazzling light and water. The sun, now high in the sky, reflects off the canal's surface, making you squint. The white stucco walls of the houses and palaces that line the banks are almost blindingly bright. You glide past the famous chinampas, the floating gardens that are the agricultural marvel of your people. They are lush, green rectangles of woven reeds and rich mud, bursting with squash, beans, tomatoes, and 1,000 flowers whose brilliant colors seem to defy the encroaching drought. You see farmers, knee-deep in the water, tending to their crops, their faces turned to the sky with a familiar, worried expression. They see your black robes as your canoe passes, and some of them pause, their expressions a mixture of reverence and desperate hope. You are a living symbol of their faith, and their silent, upturned faces feel like another weight upon your soul. The canal is a bustling thoroughfare. Other canoes of all shapes and sizes jostle for space. You pass large, heavy vessels laden with tribute from the far corners of the empire. Cotton from the lowlands, pottery from Cholula, jaguar pelts from the southern jungles. You pass smaller, quicker canoes operated by merchants, ferrying everything from live turkeys to bundles of obsidian blades. Fishermen cast their nets, their lean bodies dark against the bright water. A wealthy merchant, his robes a splash of brilliant cochineal red, glides by in a private canoe decorated with flowers, fanned by a servant. You watch it all with a priest's detachment. This is the world you have sworn to protect. This vibrant, chaotic, thriving city is the organism that depends on you, on your rituals, on your ability to successfully petition the gods. The sight of it all, the sheer life of it, does not comfort you. It only sharpens the focus of your anxiety. All of this, the farmers, the merchants, the fishermen, the nobles, all of it is predicated on the assumption that the rains will come. An assumption based entirely on your ability to do your job. As you get closer to your destination, the noise begins to build. It starts as a low, distant hum, like a massive hive of bees. With every paddle stroke, the hum grows louder, resolving itself into the sound of thousands upon thousands of human voices, all talking, shouting, bartering, and laughing at once. It is the sound of Tlatelolco. Your canoe rounds a final bend, and the marketplace comes into view. It is a vast, sprawling city of awnings, stalls, and people. A sea of humanity that stretches as far as you can see. The roar of it washes over you. You have arrived at the heart of the Empire's commerce, a place of overwhelming chaos. And here, in this most secular of places, you must now conduct your sacred business. The canoe slides into a crowded dock at the edge of the great plaza. The acolytes steady the vessel as you step out onto the solid ground, and the full sensory assault of the Tlatelolco marketplace hits you with the force of a physical wave. The air is a thick, complex stew of 1,000 competing smells. The sweet, heavy scent of tropical fruits, mangoes, papayas, mingles with the sharp, earthy aroma of chili peppers and the rich smell of roasting maize. The pungent, salty tang of dried fish from the coast clashes with the sweet perfume of vast piles of flowers, marigolds, dahlias, and tuberoses, destined for temple offerings and noble houses. And under it all is the smell of humanity itself. The sweat of thousands of bodies, the dust kicked up by thousands of feet. The sound is a roar, a single vast entity composed of countless individual threads. The rhythmic pat, pat, pat of women shaping maize dough into tortillas. The sharp metallic clang of a coppersmith hammering a sheet of metal. The frantic gobbling of turkeys in wooden cages. The high-pitched calls of vendors hawking their wares. And above all, the constant, rolling murmur of human voices. A sea of negotiation, gossip, and laughter. You pull your black robes tighter around you, a subconscious gesture of defense against the overwhelming chaos. This is not your world. The temple is a place of order, silence, and ritual. This is a place of raw, untamed life. But your mission requires you to plunge into its heart. You begin to walk, moving with a priest's deliberate and dignified pace, which feels unnaturally slow amidst the hurried energy of the crowd. People part before you, their eyes noting your black robes and the intricate tattoos on your skin that mark your station. They show deference, lowering their gaze, but you can feel their curiosity. A priest is not a common sight in the thick of the market, and your presence is an anomaly. Your first task is to find the amatl, the sacred paper made from the bark of the fig tree. The gods demand offerings of paper spattered with liquid rubber, to be burned so the smoke may carry prayers to the heavens. But it cannot be just any paper. It must be of a specific quality, pure and unblemished. You navigate through the throng, past stalls selling everything imaginable. You see a merchant displaying brilliant bolts of cotton cloth, dyed in 100 vibrant colors. You see a potter with stacks of elegant red and black painted ceramics. You see a man selling live dogs, fattened for the cooking pot. You ignore it all. Your focus is absolute. You find the section of the market dedicated to scribes and artisans. Here, the air smells of ink and dried bark. A vendor, A wizened old man with ink-stained fingers displays his wares. You inspect his stacks of Amatal, your eyes sharp, your touch discerning. You hold a sheet up to the light, looking for imperfections. The first batch is too coarse. The second has a water stain. The vendor watches you, his expression patient. He knows a priest's standards are exacting. Finally, you find a stack that is perfect, smooth, pale, and flawless. The negotiation begins. It is not a boisterous haggle. It is a quiet, formal exchange. You do not carry money. You offer a form of temple credit, a promise of divine favor, and more practically, an exemption from a certain portion of his tribute tax. He accepts with a bow. The transaction is complete. Next, the ollie, the liquid rubber. You find it in a different section, sold in clay pots by a man whose family has harvested the sap from the rubber trees of the hot lowlands for generations. You inspect the quality, dipping a finger in to test its viscosity. It is thick, black, and perfect. Another negotiation, another exchange of spiritual credit for material goods. Finally, you must find the feathers. Not just any feathers, but the long, iridescent tail feathers of the Quetzal bird, sacred symbols of fertility and wealth, essential for decorating the ceremonial robes and the offerings themselves. These are the most precious and expensive items on your list. You are directed to the stall of a famous Pochteca, one of the long-distance merchants who travel for months, even years, into the dangerous southern jungles to acquire such luxuries. His stall is an explosion of color: jaguar pelts, brilliant macaw feathers, shimmering chunks of raw jade. But you only have eyes for the Quetzal feathers. They are laid out on a black cloth, their green-blue plumage shimmering in the sun. So beautiful, they seem to hum with a life of their own. This negotiation is the most difficult. The Pochteca is a shrewd, powerful man, a member of a guild almost as influential as the priesthood. He knows the value of what he has. You speak for a long time. Your voice is low, a complex dance of offers and counteroffers, of spiritual promises weighed against earthly value. In the end, you acquire what you need. You have the paper, the rubber, the feathers. Your acolytes, who have been following you silently through the chaos, gather the precious materials. Your logistical mission is complete. As you turn to leave the market, you feel a profound sense of exhaustion. It is not a physical tiredness, but a spiritual one. You have spent hours immersed in the material world, in the grubby business of bartering and logistics. It feels like a profanation of your sacred duty. You have successfully acquired the mundane tools for your ritual, but the central, terrifying problem remains. You have the feathers, but you do not have the tears. You have the paper, but you do not have the 7 pure souls. You have succeeded in the easy part of your task. And as you step back into the canoe to return to the temple, the weight of the impossible part settles upon you once more, heavier than ever before. The canoe journey back is the reverse of the one before. You leave the chaotic roar of life and glide back toward the ordered silence of power. As the Templo Mayor grows larger, dominating the horizon, you feel a mask settle back over your face. The priest, the bureaucrat of the sacred, replaces the man who haggled for feathers and rubber. Upon disembarking at the temple dock, the acolytes take the sacred supplies to be stored. Your immediate task is over, but the relief is non-existent. You have spent hours engaged in logistics, using action as a shield against the dread. Now, with nothing to do but wait and think, the dread returns in full force. You return to your chambers. The small, austere room feels different now. It is no longer just a place of rest, but an office, a command center for a cosmic operation that is on the verge of failure. You unroll a large inventory codex on the stone floor, Its deerskin pages painted with the neat rows of glyphs that represent the temple's offerings. With a fine brush and a small bowl of black ink, you begin to update the record. This is the unseen work of a priest. The bureaucracy that holds the universe together. For every moment of glorious ceremony atop the pyramid, there are 100 moments like this, of tedious accounting. You draw the glyph for Quetzal feathers, indicating the new quantity. You do the same for the Amital paper and the rubber. The columns for supplies acquired are now complete, but the column for required attendance remains ominously empty, a gap on the page that taunts you. Your mind becomes a whirlwind of planning. You begin to sketch out the festival's schedule, minute by minute, on a practice sheet of paper. First hour, the awakening and purification of the priests. Second hour, the first chant to the rising sun. Third hour, the procession of the musicians. Fourth hour, the presentation of the offerings of flowers and food. Fifth hour, the presentation of the attendants. You stop there. The fifth hour is an abyss. A void in your plan you do not know how to fill. Everything that comes after depends on that step being successfully completed. You get up and begin to pace the small room, a caged animal. The irony of your situation is almost unbearable. You are one of the most educated and influential men in the empire. You can read the stars, interpret dreams, speak the language of the gods. You have memorized hundreds of epic poems and can recite the history of your people from their mythical departure from Aslan. But all your wisdom, all your training, is reduced to this: a procurement problem. You are a supply chain manager for the gods, and your primary supplier has failed. The pressure compels you to act. You must coordinate with the other departments. You leave your room and head to the barracks of the temple warriors, the sacred guardians. You speak with their captain, a man whose face is a mask of scars, to confirm the number of guards who will be available for the procession. He nods. His concern is security. He does not know that the true threat is not a riotous crowd, but a lack of clouds in the sky. Next, you visit the masters of music. You sit with them as they check the bone flutes and tune the great huehuetel drums. You discuss the sacred hymns to be played, the precise rhythm of the march, the crescendo that must accompany the climactic moment. They are concerned with acoustics. They do not know that the most important sound you need is the tears of a child. Each interaction is another layer of your lonely deception. You project calm, control, the authority of a man whose plan is perfectly on track. You are an actor playing the part of a competent priest, while inside, the man is screaming. At the end of the day, you have done everything in your power. You have managed every controllable variable. You have coordinated every team. You have filled in every column of your inventory, except the only one that matters. You return to your cell as the sun sets, painting the sky a mocking red and orange, the colors of fire, not water. You sit on the cold stone floor. The bureaucracy is over for the day. You have exhausted all mundane tasks, and now you are alone. In the silence, facing the single terrifying truth, the gods demanded 7, and you have 4. The sun has set. The torches have been lit throughout the temple complex, their flickering light creating a false, dancing twilight that holds the true darkness at bay. You have done all you can. You sit on the cold floor of your cell, attempting to meditate, to find a center of calm in the storm of your anxiety. You try to focus on the eternal, on the sacred patterns of the cosmos, but your mind is a frantic abacus, clicking and sliding, counting the attendance you have versus the attendance you need. 4 versus 7. The numbers are a prayer of failure. A sharp, hesitant scratch at the frame of your doorway breaks the silence. It is not the respectful announcement of a fellow priest, nor the confident summons of a superior. It is the timid sound of a novice, an acolyte. They are not supposed to disturb the priests after dark, unless the matter is urgent. A cold knot tightens in your stomach. urgent news is never good news. Enter, you call out, your voice steady, betraying none of the sudden fear that grips you. The woven curtain is pushed aside and a young boy, no more than 15, steps into your chamber. He is breathless, his chest heaving, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror at being in your presence. He holds a small, folded piece of Amatal paper in his trembling hands. A message. "Honored one," he stammers, bowing low, his eyes fixed on the floor. "A runner." A runner has just arrived from the southern causeway, from the tribute post of Xochimilco. Xochimilco, the name hits you like a physical blow. The very town you have been praying for. The source of your hope. The last variable in your desperate equation. "Give it to me," you say, your voice a low command. A boy scurries forward, his head still bowed, and extends the folded paper with both hands, as if offering a sacred object. You take it from him. The paper is damp with the sweat of his nervous hands. You dismiss him with a sharp nod, and he practically flees from your chamber, leaving you alone with the message. Your fingers feel clumsy as you unfold the paper. It is not a formal codex, just a hastily prepared dispatch. The glyphs are drawn with charcoal, smudged and urgent, but their meaning is terrifyingly clear. You see the glyph for Xochimilco, the place of flowers. Beside it, the glyph for Cocolitzli, the pestilence, a grim, skeletal figure. Then, a series of small marks indicating a great number of deaths. And finally, the last two glyphs, the ones that seal your fate. The glyph of a weeping eye, signifying sorrow and inability, and the glyph of an empty, overturned basket, signifying a failure to deliver tribute. The message is simple. Sickness has ravaged the town. The tribute cannot be paid. The children are not coming. You stare at the crude drawings, and the floor seems to fall away beneath you. This was your last hope. Your last desperate prayer that the system would work, that the tribute would arrive, that the gods would provide. And the system has broken. The gods have been silent. The hope is gone. For a long moment, the composed priest, the calm-faced manager, vanishes. You are just a man, trapped, a terrifying wave of pure panic washing over you. Your breath catches in your throat. The walls of the small room seem to close in on you. The quota is not just difficult to meet now, it is impossible. The failure you feared has become a reality. You force yourself to take a single, shuddering breath, then another. Panic is a luxury. Despair is a blasphemy. The path of protocol and tradition has crumbled into dust. You are left standing at a precipice. The time for hoping, for waiting, for relying on others is over. You have just received the worst possible news. You are alone in your chamber, the confirmation of your failure, a concrete fact. Panic is a tide, and it is rising fast. But to drown in it is to accept the end of the world. Your training, your entire life, has been about one thing: maintaining order in the face of chaos. You cannot solve this alone. To go back to the high priest now, with only a problem and no solution, would be an act of professional suicide. Your only hope lies in the tense, often rivalrous, but ultimately necessary brotherhood of your fellow priests. You are not the only manager in this celestial corporation. You summon your most trusted acolyte, a boy who is old enough to understand discretion and young enough to be terrified of disobedience. You give him a simple, coded verbal message. Go to the chamber of Ixtli, you command, and then to the chamber of Etzli. Tell them the clouds have scattered, and I wish to discuss the wind. We will meet in the upper storeroom of the Western Kalmakak. It is a summons they will understand. The storeroom is a small, disused chamber where old ritual oils are kept, a place no one ever goes. It is a place for conversations that must not be overheard. An hour later, Under the light of a single flickering oil lamp, your council of crisis assembles. Ixtli is here. He is a pragmatist, a man whose faith is secondary to his fierce belief in the supremacy of the Aztec Empire. He sees the gods as powerful, but transactional allies. Ixtli is here as well. He is older, a traditionalist, a man who believes every ritual must be followed to the letter, for deviation is the path to ruin. They stand with you in the small, dusty room that smells of old clay and rancid oil. The three of you form a triangle of contained anxiety. You do not waste time with pleasantries. You lay the dispatch from Xochimilco on a wooden crate that serves as a table. The tribute from the flower place has failed, you state, your voice flat. Pestilence. They cannot fulfill their quota. Ixtli, the traditionalist, draws in a sharp breath. His hand goes to the small pouch of sacred herbs he wears around his neck. A dark omen, he whispers. The sickness is a sign of Tlaloc's displeasure. To proceed with a flawed ritual would be to invite his wrath upon us all. We must postpone. We must purify ourselves and pray for guidance. Ixtli, the pragmatist, scoffs, a harsh, dismissive sound in the small room. Postpone? The fields are cracking with thirst. The people are already making desperate offerings at unsanctioned shrines. If we postpone, we show weakness. We tell the people that their priests have no power. The only thing that invites more chaos than a thirsty god is a faithless populace. The rubrics are clear, Ixtli insists, his voice trembling slightly. The offering requires 7 attendants, brought as tribute from the designated towns. To substitute, to improvise, it is an insult to the god. The greatest insult to Tlaloc is a barren field, Ixtli retorts, his voice a low, angry growl. He turns to you. The high priest, what were his words? You look at him, meeting his intense gaze. He said the god is thirsty, you reply quietly. He said, do not fail him again. The room falls silent. Those words carry an undeniable finality. Ixtli nods slowly, his point made. Even Ixtli cannot argue with a direct command from their superior. The ritual must proceed. The three of you stand there, trapped by the terrible logic of your situation. You cannot stop, and you cannot proceed as planned. The path forward is blocked, and the path backward is a cliff. It is Ixtli who finally gives voice to the terrible thought that has been forming in the back of your own mind. The tribute system provides the preferred offerings, he says, choosing his words with care. It is clean. It is politically sound. But the rubrics, the ancient rubrics, allow for contingencies. In times of great crisis, when the cosmic balance is truly at risk, he lets the sentence hang in the air. Ixtli looks horrified, understanding immediately where this is going. The city itself can provide. Ixtli finishes, his voice barely a whisper. The god requires tears. He does not. In the final accounting, care of those tears come from a child of Xochimilco or a child of Tenochtitlan. The air in the small, dusty storeroom is thick with unspoken fear. Ixtli's proposal hangs between the three of you, a dangerous and ugly thing. To even speak of it is a breach of decorum. To consider it is a flirtation with blasphemy. It is Ixtli, the traditionalist, who finds his voice first. He is horrified. To take a child from the city, he whispers, his voice trembling with a mixture of piety and terror. From the Tenochca themselves, it is unthinkable. The tribute children are part of a political and sacred contract. They are given by lesser peoples to honor the heart of the empire. They are proper. To take one of our own, it is an admission of weakness. It is a spiritual poison. It is survival, Ixtli counters, his voice low and steady, cutting through Ixtli's panic. The spiritual purity of the offering is a luxury we can no longer afford. We are in a state of crisis. Do you think Tlaloc, when he looks down upon his dying fields, cares if the tears that fall come from a child of a tributary village or a child from the Kalpuli of Quipilbun. He requires a debt of water. He requires a show of profound sacrifice. What is more profound than a city sacrificing its own? The people will not see it as a sacrifice, Estley argues, his hands wringing the small pouch of herbs around his neck. They will see it as a theft. They believe the temple protects them. If we take their children, we become the monsters they fear in the darkness. The faith will crumble. The faith will crumble when the people are eating dirt and their children are dying of thirst, Ixtley says, his pragmatism a cold, hard stone. He turns his attention fully to you. He knows you are the one who must be convinced. Think of the high priest's command. He did not say, follow the traditions. He said, do not fail. He has given us the authority, no, the responsibility, to do what is necessary. He has placed the result above the method. You are caught in the crossfire between their two philosophies, which are really two sides of your own heart. The priest in you, the scholar who has spent a lifetime memorizing the sacred rubrics, recoils with Estley. Every instinct tells you that the proper forms must be observed, but a deviation like this is a gamble with the cosmos itself. An impure ritual could be worse than no ritual at all, a direct insult that could bring about a catastrophe far worse than drought. But the manager in you, the man tasked with a quota and a deadline by an unforgiving superior, sees the cold logic in Ixtley's words. The risk of doing nothing is no longer a risk. It is a certainty. It is the certainty of returning to the high priest in 2 days' time with only 4 attendants. It is the certainty of disgrace, of ruin, and of watching the crops fail while you chanted uselessly to the sky. You think of the faces you have seen, the high priest's disappointed eyes, the worried, hopeful faces of the farmers by the canals, the immense, living, breathing city that is depending on you. The choice is not between a right path and a wrong path. It is between 2 terrible paths. One is the path of pious failure. The other is the path of dangerous, perhaps blasphemous action. You make your decision. Ixtley is right, you say, and your own voice surprises you with its sudden firmness. Estley flinches as if struck. The high priest's command was absolute, you continue, looking directly at Estley, forcing him to meet your gaze. Our duty is to the god, and the god's primary concern is the survival of his people. The traditions were made to serve the gods, not the other way around. If the provinces have failed us, then the heart of the empire must provide. The city will provide what the provinces cannot. It is done. The words have been spoken. You have sided with the pragmatist. You have chosen action over piety. A grim look of satisfaction crosses Ixtley's face. He nods slowly. Estley says nothing, his face pale, his lips moving in a silent prayer of warding. But he does not argue. You are the priest responsible for this festival. You have asserted your authority. He is bound to obey. The terrible alliance is forged. The 3 of you are now bound together in a dangerous conspiracy, a plan that violates the sacred contract between the priesthood and the people. The weight on your shoulders has changed. It is no longer just the fear of failure. It is now the cold, heavy knowledge of the monstrous act you are about to commit. The small storeroom, which moments before had been electric with debate, is now filled with a thick, conspiratorial silence. The moral Rubicon has been crossed. All that remains is the grim business of planning the invasion. Estley, the traditionalist, sinks onto a low stool in the corner, his face ashen. He has lost the argument, and his spirit seems to have fled, leaving only a hollow shell of obedience. He will do as he is told, but his fear poisons the air. It is Ixtley, the pragmatist, who now takes command of the details, his eyes sharp and focused in the lamplight. We cannot do this haphazardly, Ixtli says, his voice a low, urgent whisper. A clumsy approach will lead to rumor, panic, and failure. We must be as precise as the sacrificial knife. We need a map. He does not mean a map of painted deerskin. He means a map of human suffering. The three of you, with your decades of collective experience, hearing confessions, performing rites, and observing the city, begin to draw this map in the air between you. The artisans. District is too proud, you begin, your voice now taking on the cold, detached tone of a strategist. Their guilds are strong. Word would spread too quickly. Ixtli nods in agreement. The merchant clans are out of the question. They are powerful, and they believe their wealth protects them. Your mind sifts through the social geography of the great city. You are searching for the points of least resistance, the places where desperation has worn down the bonds of family and community. The outer Kaupuli, Ixtli suggests. The neighborhoods on the edge of the city, near the Takuba Causeway. Many newcomers there. Families with few connections, no ancient lineage to protect them. They are also the first to feel the drought, you add, the cold calculus of the plan taking shape. Their personal stores of maize will be low. Their children will be thin. An offer of grain and status for their family might be persuasive. The euphemism hangs in the air. Persuasive. Ixtli makes a pained sound for his corner. The gods favor the strong and the beautiful. A child weakened by hunger is a lesser offering. A willing offering is better than none at all, Ixtli snaps back, his patience with the traditionalist wearing thin. We are not shopping for a prize bull, Ixtli. We are trying to stop the sky from falling. You raise a hand to silence them. The offering must be persuaded, but it must also be worthy. A child who has not yet reached the age of reason, but who is healthy enough to walk in the procession. This is the requirement. For the next hour, you plan. You are no longer priests discussing theology. You are hunters planning a stalk. You discussed which families have recently suffered a death, leaving them emotionally and financially vulnerable. You discuss which districts have been most vocal in their prayers for rain, indicating the deepest level of fear. You are drawing a map of misery, identifying the precise intersection of poverty, fear, and piety where you can execute your terrible transaction. Finally, you settle on a district. Atisapan, a poor neighborhood of salt gatherers and laborers near the murky edge of the lake. It is remote, humble, and its people are known for their quiet, desperate faith. The division of labor is decided quickly. Ixtli, despite his moral horror, is tasked with preparing the compensation. It is a package designed to sanctify the bargain, a guaranteed store of maize for the family for 1 year, sacred amulets blessed by the temple, and a solemn promise that their child will be deified, living forever in Tlalocan, the earthly paradise of the rain god. He is to prepare a story of honor and glory to mask the reality of the trade. Ixtli will handle the logistics, securing a small unmarked canoe, planning a discreet route, and ensuring a unit of temple guards is on standby, out of sight, in case of trouble. And you, your role is the most difficult of all. You will be the one to make the approach. You will be the face of the temple, the voice of the gods. You will be the one to look a mother and father in the eye and ask them for their child. The plan is complete. It is logical, precise, and monstrous. Ixtli and Ixtli rise to leave, ready to prepare their parts of the grim machine. They slip out of the storeroom one by one, melting back into the shadows of the temple complex. You are left alone in the flickering light of the single oil lamp. The weight of what you have decided to do is a physical presence. You have moved beyond a simple failure to meet a quota. You have now orchestrated a conspiracy at the heart of the priesthood. You have made a plan to prey on the weakest of your own flock to save the whole. It is either the act of a great leader, making a terrible choice for the good of his people, or the act of a desperate man committing a blasphemy to save his own skin. You are no longer sure there is a difference. Night falls like a shroud over Tenochtitlan. The disciplined, sacred order of the day gives way to the flickering, uncertain shadows of the evening. This is the time for secrets. This is the time for your grim errand. There is no ceremony to your departure. You do not leave from the grand causeways. Accompanied by Ixtli, you slip out of a small, rarely used postern gate on the western edge of the temple complex. Here, the scent of copal is fate, overpowered by the damp, earthy smell of the lake. The two of you are just shadows among shadows, your black robes making you nearly invisible in the gloom. As planned, a simple, unmarked canoe awaits in a dark, reed-choked inlet. It is not a vessel of the temple, but a common tradesman's canoe, low, rough-hewn, and anonymous. Ixtli takes the paddle at the stern. You sit in the center, your posture rigid, the terrible purpose of your journey a cold weight inside you. With a silent push, you glide out into the dark waters of the canal system. The journey is a descent. You move away from the heart of the empire, and with every paddle stroke, the world changes. You leave the grand canals lined with the brightly lit white-walled palaces of nobles and successful merchants. You leave the comforting, monumental sight of the Great Pyramid, which shrinks behind you. You are heading toward the city's margins, both geographically and morally. The canals here are narrower, darker. The water is black and still, reflecting the sliver of moon and the cold, distant stars. The sounds change. The confident laughter and music from the central districts fade, replaced by a more intimate, hushed soundscape. The cry of a baby from within a darkened house, the low murmur of a family's conversation, the bark of a skinny dog. The architecture de-evolves. The great stone houses give way to smaller, simpler adobe homes. As you enter the outer network of canals that feed into the district of Atisapan, the homes become little more than huts made of wattle and daub, their thatched roofs low and dark. The smell of the water here is different, thicker with the scent of mud and decay. This is the edge of the great city, the place where its poorest citizens cling to a precarious existence. This is your hunting ground. You watch the life flickering inside the small homes. You see the silhouettes of families gathered around a single candle or a tiny fire. You see them sharing a meager meal. These are the people you are supposed to protect. These are the people for whom you perform your fasts and your rituals. You tell yourself that the act you are about to commit is for them, a necessary, surgical cruelty to ensure their survival, a sacrifice of one family for the good of all. But the justification feels thin and hollow in the face of their quiet, unknowing lives. You must become the priest now, not the man. You push down the guilt and the fear. You summon the persona you will need, the calm, authoritative emissary of the gods. You are not here to steal. You are here to bestow a terrible, sacred honor upon a chosen family. You rehearse the words in your mind, the theological framework that will turn a horrific transaction into a holy one. "We are here," Ixtli whispers from the stern. His voice startles you. The canoe slides up to a small muddy bank. This is Atisapan. The paths are not the wide, paved causeways of the city center, but narrow, muddy tracks between the tightly packed huts. The air is heavy with the smell of wood smoke and poverty. You disembark, your fine sandals sinking into the soft mud. You and Ixtli walk in silence through the dark, narrow pathways. You are two black-robed specters of authority in a land of the forgotten. You listen. From one hut you hear arguing. From another, the sound of weaving. Then you hear it, the sound of children's laughter, thin and reedy, followed by a woman's tired voice, trying to hush them. You and Ixtli exchange a single, knowing glance. You follow the sound and find the hut. It is small, even for this district, its thatch in need of repair. But it is from here that the sound of a large, struggling family emanates. This is the place from your map of misery. You stand before the simple woven mat that serves as a door. You are here. The journey is over. The moment is at hand. You can hear the sounds of life within, completely oblivious to the two figures of doom standing in the darkness outside. You take a deep, steadying breath, smooth the front of your robes, and raise your hand to announce your presence. You raise your hand, not to knock, but to gently push aside the woven reed mat that serves as a door. Before you do, you take one final, deep breath, purging the man and becoming the priest. Your face becomes a mask of serene authority. Your voice, when you call out, will be calm and resonant, the voice of a god, not a man. The servants of Tlaloc seek entry, you announce, your voice filling the small space before you. There is a sudden scuttling sound from within, then silence. The laughter of the children is extinguished as if by a thrown blanket. A moment later, the mat is pushed aside from within, and a man appears, his silhouette framed against the dim, flickering light of his home. He is thin, his face etched with the worry of a man who lives on the edge of a knife. When his eyes adjust and see the two of you standing there in your stark black robes, his face slackens with pure terror. Priests do not make social calls in Atizapon, especially after dark. Your presence here can only mean one of two things: a great honor or a terrible transgression. Honored ones, he stammers, bowing low, his body trembling. We mean you no harm, you say, your voice smooth and reassuring. You place a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of pastoral intimacy that is entirely calculated. We have come to bless this house. May we enter? He cannot refuse. He steps back, bowing again, and ushers you into his home. The inside of the hut is one small, cramped room. It smells of wood smoke, maize, and the close, intimate scent of a large family living in a small space. A woman, the man's wife, is huddled in the corner, her arms wrapped around three small children, who peer at you with wide, frightened eyes. A fourth, slightly older child, a boy of about 6, stands frozen by the small cooking fire, his face a mixture of curiosity and fear. Ixtli remains silent by the doorway, a looming, intimidating presence. This is your stage. You do not address the issue at hand. That is not the way. You must build the sacred context first. You walk to the center of the room and begin to bestow blessings, your voice taking on the rhythmic, hypnotic cadence of a chant. You bless the roof that shelters them, the hearth that warms them, the mats they sleep on. You are wrapping your terrible purpose in a blanket of holiness. The man and woman are mesmerized, their fear slowly being supplanted by a sense of awe. When the atmosphere is sufficiently charged with religious fervor, you pause. You turn your serene, compassionate gaze upon the parents. Your piety has not gone unnoticed, you say softly. In this time of drought, when so many offer only small prayers, your devotion has shone like a star in the darkness. They stare at you, confused, hopeful. The great god Tlaloc, the giver of life, has seen your family. You continue, your voice building with solemn importance. And from all the thousands of families in this great city, he has chosen yours for a sacred honor. The word honor hangs in the air. The man's eyes widen. The woman pulls her children closer. You paint them a glorious picture with your words. You speak of the gods' thirst and the city's need for rain. You tell them that the gods do not demand a sacrifice of death, but a sacrifice of life, a messenger, an attendant who can carry the prayers of the people directly to the divine realm. Your child will not die, you lie, the words tasting like ash in your mouth. He will be transformed. He will go to live in Tlalocon, the earthly paradise. a land of eternal summer and endless flowers. His tears on this earth will become the jewels that persuade the god to grant his mercy. He will be the savior of his people. Now, Ixtli steps forward. He does not speak of honor, but of the worldly matters Esli prepared. He speaks of the temple's gratitude, a guarantee of maize for the family for a full year, more than they could grow in 5. He speaks of special protections, of prayers that will be said for their family's name for generations to come. He is offering them a choice between starving in piety or surviving through a sacred bargain. It is a masterful, cruel performance. You have offered them honor, and Ixtli has offered them food. You have appealed to their faith and their empty stomachs. You turn your gaze to the children. You are not looking for a specific face. You are a professional assessing resources. You need one who is old enough to walk in a procession, but young enough for their tears to be considered pure. Your eyes land on the boy standing by the fire. He is the right age. He looks healthy. You raise a hand and point, your finger steady. That one, you say, your voice soft but with an undeniable finality. Tlaloc has chosen him. The mother lets out a choked sob, a sound she tries to stifle. The father looks from you to his son and then to his other, smaller children. You can see the terrible calculation in his eyes. The life of one, weighed against the survival of the rest. He looks at the floor, his shoulders slumping in a gesture of utter, soul-crushing defeat. If it is the god's will, he whispers. It is a great honor. His lips do not move at first. His eyes flicker to the corner where the rest of his children huddle. You can see it. The math, the guilt, the love, the terror, fighting a quiet war inside him. He closes his eyes for a long moment, and when he opens them again, he is no longer a father. He is a man surrendering to survival. The transaction is complete. You have your offering. You walk toward the boy. You kneel down so your eyes are level with his. You smile, a gentle, priestly smile that feels like a crack in the mask of your face. Do not be afraid, little one, you say. You are going on a great adventure. You take his small, trembling hand in yours. You have what you came for. You give the broken parents a final, hollow blessing, and then you turn and lead the child out of the hut, out into the darkness, leaving a shattered family and a year's supply of maize behind. You lead the boy out into the cold night air. He does not cry. He is stunned into a silent, wide-eyed terror, his small hand clutching yours with a desperate, trusting grip that feels like a hot coal against your skin. Ixtli follows behind, a dark sentinel guarding your retreat. You move quickly, silently, through the muddy, labyrinthine paths of Atizapan. The sounds of the sleeping district seem to accuse you. A dog barks and you flinch. A door creaks. And you imagine a face peering out, a witness to your abduction. You are no longer acting as priests. You are acting as thieves in the night. You reach the muddy bank where the canoe is hidden. The 2 acolytes are waiting, their faces impassive in the gloom. When they see the small child holding your hand, their expressions do not change, but you see a flicker of understanding in their eyes. They know what has happened. They know what this means. They are trained to see and to be silent. A child hesitates before the canoe, his grip on your hand tightening. You kneel down, forcing a serene, gentle smile onto your face. It is all right, you whisper, your voice a soft lie. The gods are waiting to honor you. You lift him into the vessel, and he sits on the rough wooden bottom, a small, still figure in the darkness. You and Ixtli take your places, and with a push, the canoe glides away from the bank, leaving the sleeping district of Atizapan behind. The journey back to the temple is a silent, haunted procession. The canoe slips through the black water of the canals, a shadow moving through a sleeping city. The only sound is the gentle, rhythmic dip and pull of Ixtli's paddle. The child sits perfectly still, his face a pale oval in the moonlight. He is not crying, which is somehow worse than if he were. It is the silence of profound shock, of a mind that cannot process the enormity of what is happening. You watch him, and your own soul is a battlefield. The man inside you, the human being, sees a terrified, stolen child and is pierced with a guilt so sharp it feels like an obsidian blade in your gut. You feel a wave of pity, a paternal urge to comfort him, to tell him it is all a mistake and take him home. But the priest in you crushes that feeling with brutal efficiency. The priest sees not a child, but a sacred vessel. He is a key. His tears will be the water that primes the pump of the heavens. His life is an offering that will save thousands. You force yourself to see him not as a person, but as a living glyph, a holy instrument for the salvation of the state. You tell yourself this is an honor. You tell yourself his fate is a glorious one. You repeat these justifications in the silence of your mind, a desperate chant against the rising tide of your own humanity. A cold realization dawns on you. This is how it is done. This is how a man becomes a true servant of the gods and the empire. It is a process of hardening, of burning away the soft, useless parts of the soul, pity, doubt, guilt, until only a hard, sharp instrument of divine will remains. You have solved the problem. You have succeeded where tradition failed. And in doing so, you feel a sliver of cold, grim pride. You are a man who gets things done. As you approach the city's center, the colossal silhouette of the Templo Mayor rises against the starry sky. It is a man-made mountain, a place of terrible power. You are returning to its embrace, no longer as a failed bureaucrat, but as a successful procurer of the rarest and most vital of all resources. The canoe slides into the temple's private dock. You have returned to the world of order, stone, and silence. You lift the child from the canoe. On the solid ground of the sacred precinct, he seems even smaller, more fragile. He is no longer a son of a salt gatherer from Atizapan. He is now a consecrated offering, an object belonging to the temple. He is an attendant. You take his hand again. It is cold as ice. You lead him away from the water and toward the towering pyramid of Tlaloc, his small bare feet making no sound on the great stone plaza. The journey back is complete. You have delivered the asset. You lead the small, silent boy across the great plaza, the vast open space, which feels empty and intimidating to you, must seem like a terrifying, inhuman landscape to a child who has known only the narrow paths of Atizapan. He stumbles slightly on the perfectly smooth flagstones, his eyes wide as he takes in the sight of the twin pyramids looming over you like man-made mountains. Your role as procurer is finished. Now you must become an overseer. You guide the boy away from the main pyramid of Tlaloc and toward a smaller, dedicated building within the temple walls. This is the Calmecac Tlacopac, the house of offering, where the most precious human tributes are housed and prepared. As you enter, you are met by two older priestesses. Their faces are serene, impassive masks, their movements slow and graceful. They are the tenders of the sacred vessels. And this boy is now the most sacred vessel in their care. You formally present the child to them, not with words, but with a series of ritual gestures that signify the transfer of responsibility. The boy, who has been clinging to your hand as his only anchor in this strange world, is gently taken by one of the priestesses. He does not resist. He is frozen in a state beyond simple fear. You do not leave. You must stay to witness the first rites of preparation, to ensure the protocols are perfectly observed. Your report to the high priest must be flawless. The priestesses lead the boy to a bathing chamber. The air here is warm and steamy, thick with the scent of flowers and herbs. Unlike the cold, punishing pool where you purified yourself, this bath is one of luxury. The stone basin is filled with warm water, into which the priestesses crush handfuls of marigold petals and aromatic leaves until the water is a fragrant, golden soup. They gently, tenderly undress the boy. His rough, dote-stained loincloth is dropped to the floor to be burned later. They lower him into the warm, scented water. For the first time since you took him from his home, the boy's body relaxes slightly, the tension in his small shoulders easing as the warmth soaks into him. The priestesses bathe him with a reverence you find deeply unsettling. They wash his hair, his limbs, their movements as gentle and practiced as if they were bathing a living god. They speak to him in soft, murmuring tones, calling him little jewel, precious feather. You watch this scene of profound tenderness, and the paradox of your faith is laid bare before you. The system is not merely brutal. It is deeply, bizarrely compassionate in its cruelty. To be a proper offering, the vessel must be perfect, clean, honored. The child must be made to feel like a deity, even as he is being prepared for the altar. This gentle care is not for his comfort. It is for the efficacy of the ritual. It is a calculated act of consecration. After the bath, he is dried with soft cotton cloths and dressed in his new ceremonial clothes. They are magnificent. A small tunic of the finest cotton, dyed a brilliant sky blue, the color of Tlalic's paradise. It is embroidered at the hem with the symbols of shells and water lilies. They place small, polished jade bracelets on his wrists. He looks nothing like the son of a salt gatherer now. He looks like a tiny, beautiful prince, a doll. The transformation is complete. The priestesses have done their work perfectly. They have washed away the grime of his poverty and clothed him in the raiment of a sacred object. They lead him from the bathing chamber. As he passes you, his large, dark eyes meet yours for a moment. There is no longer terror in them. There is only a deep, bottomless, and unnerving pool of confusion. He does not understand why the strange men who took him from his home are now treating him with such impossible kindness. You watch as they guide him down a quiet corridor to the secluded chambers where he will be held and honored until the festival. Your part in this stage is over. You have successfully overseen the intake. You turn to leave, the image of the small, beautifully dressed, and utterly doomed boy burned into your mind. You have solved your logistical problem. But in watching this contradictory, gentle welcome, you feel your own guilt sharpened to a razor's edge. The next day is a study in calculated contradictions. Your duty requires you to spend a morning in the chambers of the Kalmikak Tlacopac, overseeing the continued preparation of the 5 attendants you now have in your care. These are not the cold stone cells of the priesthood. These rooms are strangely beautiful. Fresh flowers have been placed in clay pots in the corners. Woven mats, softer and thicker than any you have slept on, cover the floor. There are even simple toys, carved wooden animals, a small ball made of solid rubber. The air is warm and smells of blossoms, not blood. It is a gentle, peaceful prison. The children are here. The original 4, the new quiet boy from Atisapan, and 2 more, brought during the night by Ixtli, with no explanation except, from a quiet place, no one will ask questions. Now at last, there are 7. The terror from the previous night has subsided, replaced by a childlike adaptability. The good treatment has worked its magic. You see 2 of them playing with the wooden figures, creating a silent, imaginary world. The new boy sits by himself, watching. his initial shock having given way to a quiet, unnerving watchfulness. Your purpose here is to supervise the morning feast. The priestesses enter, carrying not the simple maize porridge of the common people, but trays laden with delicacies. There are small, steaming tamales, wrapped in corn husks, rich with turkey, and seasoned with chili. There are bowls of fresh, sliced fruit, papaya, mamey, zapote, brought by runners from the warm coastal lands, luxuries that most citizens of Tenochtitlan will never taste. There is a thick, savory stew, and honey cakes for a final treat. And there is the pulque, a small, decorated clay jug filled with the milky, fermented sap of the maguey cactus. It is a sacred beverage, a drink that allows communion with the divine, and it is also calming, a way to soothe the anxieties of the young offerings. The most potent element of this ritual for you is the sharp contrast of your own state. As the children are served this feast, you stand by the wall, your own stomach a hollow, aching cavern. Your fast continues. And it has become more difficult. The rich, savory smell of the stew, the sweet perfume of the fruit, it is a torment to your empty body. The gnawing hunger is a constant prayer, a reminder of your priestly duty and your separation from the world of earthly pleasures. You're the austere shepherd, they are the pampered flock. You watch with the detached eye of a foreman inspecting his materials. The priestesses serve the children with gentle reverence, encouraging them to eat. The children, their initial fears soothed by kindness and a warm place to sleep, eat eagerly. Their hunger is simple and honest. They enjoy the sweet fruit, they marvel at the rich stew. The new boy, after some hesitation, follows their lead and begins to eat as well. Your job is to assess their mood. Are they content? Are they healthy? A sad or sullen offering is a poor omen. Their current happiness is a key performance indicator for the success of your ritual. You watch them not as children, but as a resource whose morale must be carefully managed. The thought is monstrous, and you push it away, replacing it with the cold language of your duty. You are not a man feeling pity. You are a priest ensuring the quality of a sacred instrument. The priestesses pour a small amount of the pulque into decorated cups for each child. They drink it, their expressions curious. Soon, a pleasant, sleepy calm settles over the room. The children's play becomes gentler, their voices softer. The feast is over. The priestesses lead them away for a period of rest. You are left alone in the chamber, with the lingering smells of the feast and the scattered remnants of the meal. The sight of the leftover food makes your own stomach cramp with a painful, empty longing. You have successfully completed another stage of the project. The offerings are being fattened, honored, and pacified. The terrible machine is running smoothly, efficiently, and on schedule. And the sheer, calm proficiency of it all is the most horrifying thing you have ever witnessed. Night descends on the temple complex, but for you, there is no rest. This is the final vigil. The night before the great festival is the most demanding. A final, personal ordeal you must endure to be worthy of standing before the god. Sleep is forbidden. Food is a distant memory. Your only companion is the gnawing emptiness in your stomach and the immense, crushing weight of the coming dawn. You are in your small, cold chamber. You have lit a brazier, and the thick, sweet smoke of copal incense fills the air, making it heavy and hard to breathe. The smoke is a prayer, a screen to hide the profane world and open a gateway to the divine. This tiny room is now your entire universe. Your body is a landscape of pain. The hunger is a constant, dull fire in your belly. Your limbs ache with a weariness that has settled deep into your bones. But this suffering is not a distraction. It is the point. It is a tool. You must use it to sharpen your spirit, to burn away the last vestiges of your human weakness. You begin to chant. Your voice, at first a low murmur, grows stronger, filling the small cell with the ancient, epic hymns to Tlaloc. You recite the story of his 4 water jars, from which he pours the rains upon the earth. You chant the names of his attendants, the Tlaloc, the gods of the mountains. The words are a rhythm, a cadence you have known since you were a boy. You fall into the trance of the sound, letting the verses carry you away from the confines of your own body. Hours pass, marked only by the slow burning of the incense in the brazier. When the moon is at its highest point in the sky, it is time for the final, most important preparation. It is time to pay the last installment of your blood debt. You unwrap a small cloth, revealing your sacred tools, a set of sharpened maguey thorns, their points needle-sharp, and a magnificent obsidian blade, its black volcanic glass polished to a mirror finish, its edge sharper than any metal. You do this not with frantic haste, but with the calm, methodical precision of a master artisan. This is the heart of your craft. You take a maguey thorn, and with a steady hand, you pierce the lobe of your ear, pushing it through the old, scarred hole. A hot, sharp pain lances through you, and you welcome it. It is a jolt of pure reality, of life force. A drop of blood, dark in the lamplight, wells up and drips onto a strip of immortal paper you have placed on the floor. You repeat the process on the other ear. Then you take the obsidian blade. You make a small, precise cut on your calf, just deep enough to draw a flow of blood without crippling yourself. You watch as your own life force, your tonali, drips onto the paper, a sacred offering, a personal tribute to nourish the thirsty gods. The pain is immense, but your mind, honed by days of fasting and sleeplessness, floats above it. You are purifying yourself with your own sacred water. You are making yourself worthy. You remain like this for what feels like an eternity, a kneeling, bleeding statue in a room thick with smoke and prayer. You are pushing your body to its absolute limit, deliberately trying to induce the state of ecstatic trance. You are attempting to unmoor yourself from the physical world, to become a vessel so empty, so pure, that the god has no choice but to notice you, to listen to your pleas. As the first, faintest hint of gray appears in the patch of sky, visible from your doorway, you know the vigil is ending. You are at the nadir of your physical existence. You are exhausted beyond measure. Your body is a symphony of pain. Your mind is light and dizzy from hunger and lack of sleep. But in the strange and terrible calculus of your faith, you are now at the zenith of your spiritual power. You have emptied yourself of all that is human. You are nothing but a conduit of pure, desperate will. The long night of torment is over. You are ready. The day of sacrifice has arrived. The first true light of dawn spills over the volcanoes that guard the valley, striking the peak of the Great Pyramid and setting the shrine of Huitzilopochtli ablaze in fiery red. The sun, the warrior god, has won his nightly battle against the darkness. This daily miracle, which you have helped to secure with your own blood, is the signal. The day of the festival has begun. You rise from the floor of your chamber, your body a hollow reed, lightheaded and trembling with exhaustion. Yet your spirit feels sharp and clear, honed to a fine point by the night's ordeal. You walk out onto the high terrace. The air is cool and clean. Below you, the temple complex is stirring, buzzing with a quiet, sacred energy. Novices are scrubbing the ceremonial plazas until the stones shine. The scent of thousands of flowers, brought to decorate the processional route, rises to meet you. In the distance, you hear the first deep, resonant boom of a Huwedel drum, a slow, steady heartbeat that will provide the rhythm for the day. Your first duty is a final inspection. you climb the last, steepest flight of stairs to the summit of Tlaloc's pyramid, to the shrine that is your domain. You examine the sacrificial stone, its dark volcanic rock scrubbed clean. You inspect the sacred vessels and the ceremonial obsidian knives, their edges impossibly sharp. Everything is in its place. The stage is set. You return to your chamber. Laid out for you by the acolytes are your full ceremonial vestments. They are not the simple black robes of your daily life. They are the magnificent and terrifying garments of a man who will speak to a god. The transformation begins. Aided by two silent novices, you shed the black robes of the penitent and begin to don the costume of divine power. First, a loincloth of the finest white cotton. Then a tunic of a brilliant sky blue, the color of Tlaloc's paradise. Its edges intricately embroidered with seashells and stylized waves. Over this, you wear a cape made not of cloth, but of 1,000 overlapping iridescent blue feathers of the Xiutoto bird, a shimmering cascade of color that moves like water when you walk. They place heavy jade bracelets on your wrists and ankles. A great pectoral ornament of carved shell and turquoise is hung around your neck. The weight of the jewelry is immense, a physical representation of the weight of your office. Finally, the headdress. It is a towering creation of long, shimmering green plumes from the sacred quetzal, the most precious substance in the empire. The feathers are arranged to cascade down your back like a waterfall. They hand you a polished obsidian mirror, its surface dark and smoky. You look at your own face, and two acolytes begin to apply the sacred paint. They trace the goggle-eyed pattern of Tlaloc around your own eyes in stark black and white. They paint your mouth with the symbol of the fanged serpent. When they are finished, you look in the mirror again, and the man you know is gone. The face that stares back is not yours. It is an inhuman mask, a terrifying divine visage. It is the face of the priest of Tlaloc. You have disappeared completely beneath the crushing weight of your sacred duty. You are no longer a man with fears and doubts. You are a living symbol, an instrument. The drums outside are louder now, a constant, deep, and powerful rhythm that you feel in your chest. You can hear the distant roar of the massive crowd gathering in the great plaza at the base of the pyramid. They are waiting for you. They are waiting for the ceremony to begin. You take a deep breath. The tired, hungry man is gone. The calm, terrible, and magnificent priest remains. You turn and step out of your chamber, out into the bright morning sun, your feathered cape shimmering behind you. It is time to take your place at the head of the procession. You step out onto the high, sun-drenched platform, and the world transforms. The air, thin and cold just moments ago, is now alive, thrumming with a power that seems to rise from the very stones of the temple. It is the power of 100,000 people, all gathered in the great plaza below, their collective hope and fear, a palpable, invisible ocean. From your vantage point, you have a god's eye view of the great machine of the ceremony assembling itself. Directly below, at the base of your pyramid, are the musicians. 100 drummers stand behind their massive, carved huehuetel drums, their hands poised. Another 100 hold the smaller, two-toned slit drums, the teponotzli. An army of flute players, holding instruments of bone and clay, stand ready. They are the heart of the procession, and their rhythm will be the heartbeat of the city today. Groups of dancers, their bodies painted with the symbols of water and their costumes adorned with shells and iridescent scales, are forming ranks. Your fellow priests are there, moving with quiet authority, arranging the various elements of the procession. You see Ixtli, his face a grim mask of focused intensity. You see Etzli, his ceremonial face paint, unable to hide the sheer terror in his eyes. And then you see them, the 7 children. The priestesses lead them forward into the staging area. Dressed in their brilliant blue robes with flowers woven into their hair, they look like tiny, precious dolls. They are dwarfed by the scale of everything around them. The massive pyramid, the ranks of warriors, the sea of humanity waiting in the plaza. They look small, lost, and beautiful. They are the jewels of the ceremony. They are the price of rain. It is time. You move to the top of the great staircase. As you appear, a visible ripple passes through the immense crowd below. A sound, a collective gasp of awe that becomes a low, rolling roar, washes up the side of the pyramid. The sun catches the thousands of quetzal feathers in your headdress, creating a shimmering, divine halo around you. To the people below, you are not a man. You are a blinding vision, a conduit for the gods, the living embodiment of their hope. Your descent is slow, theatrical, and immensely lonely. You place one foot deliberately in front of the other, each step perfectly timed to the slow, single beat of the lead drum. The roar of the crowd is a physical pressure. The weight of their expectations, their hopes, their fears is heavier than your magnificent feathered cape. You keep your eyes fixed forward, looking not at the people, but at the horizon, as a god would. You reach the base of the pyramid. The air here is thick with the scent of flowers, sweat, and burning incense. You take your place at the very head of the great procession. Behind you, the other priests fall into line. The priestesses gently guide the 7 children to their place directly behind you. You can feel their small, terrified presence at your back. The moment is yours. The entire city, the entire empire, waits for your signal. You do not shout. You do not speak. You raise the ceremonial staff in your right hand, its polished wood and jade ornaments glittering in the sun. You hold it aloft for a single, silent moment, and then you bring it down. The world explodes in sound. 100 great drums erupt in a single, thunderous, earth-shaking beat. The teponotzli join in, their two-toned rhythm a frantic, complex counterpoint. The flutes begin a high, piercing, hypnotic melody. It is the sacred music of the gods, a sound designed to stir the soul and shake the foundations of the world. Slowly, majestically, the great procession begins to move. You take the first step, leading the river of priests, dancers, and offerings out of the sacred precinct and onto the great causeway that leads into the heart of the city. The roar of the crowd becomes deafening. They throw flowers in your path. They weep. They pray. The public spectacle has begun, and you are at its terrible, magnificent center. You move onto the great causeway, and the city of Tenochtitlan opens up before you. The roar of the crowd, which was a unified sound in the plaza, now resolves into a chaotic and overwhelming symphony of individual human voices. They are everywhere. The wide paved avenue is lined 10 deep with people, a living wall of humanity. They stand on the flat rooftops of their houses, their colorful clothes a vibrant mosaic against the white stucco walls. They are packed into canoes in the canals that run alongside the causeway, so numerous that they form a solid bridge of boats. Every eye in this vast city is on you. This is your public stage. As you pass, the people fall to their knees. They hold up flowers. They hold up their own small children, hoping for a sliver of your divine attention, a blessing that might glance off you and onto them. They weep openly, their faces a mixture of ecstatic religious fervor and raw, desperate fear. They chant prayers to Tlaloc, their voices a thousand-fold whisper beneath the thunder of the drums. Tlalocan Tlamathesqui, they call you, priest of the place of Tlaloc. You are the vessel of their hope. You are the man who can save them from the sun and the dust. The sheer force of their collective faith is a physical pressure, more intense than the heat of the midday sun, heavier than the magnificent, feathered regalia on your shoulders. You must not falter. Your face is an impassive mask of divine authority. Your gaze is fixed on the horizon. Your steps are slow, measured, and perfectly in time with the great drums that beat behind you. The sound vibrating through the stone causeway and up into your bones. You are performing the greatest, most important role of your life for an audience of 100,000 souls. But behind the mask, the man is fraying. The sun is hot, and your body, weakened by days of fasting, screams in protest. The weight of the headdress is a crushing burden on your neck. A trickle of sweat cuts a path through the sacred paint on your cheek, and you pray no one can see it. You see the hopeful, trusting faces in the crowd, and the secret knowledge of the boy you took from Atizapán burns in your gut like a poison. You are their holy intercessor, their paragon of piety, and you are a fraud. A man who resorted to a monstrous bargain to fulfill his quota. The hypocrisy is a silent torment. You are acutely aware of the 5 small children shuffling behind you. You can't see them, but you can feel their presence. You imagine their small feet struggling to keep pace, their minds overwhelmed by the noise and the spectacle. They are the secret heart of this parade. They are the terrible truth hidden beneath the layers of flowers, music, and prayer. The procession moves with agonizing slowness. It is a long, grueling march through the heart of the city. The sun climbs higher in the cloudless, mercilessly blue sky. The heat is oppressive. Your magnificent costume becomes a prison of sweat and feathers. The drumming is relentless, a hypnotic, punishing rhythm that seems to beat directly against your skull. But you cannot stop. You cannot show weakness. You are a god for this day, and gods do not tire. Finally, after what feels like a lifetime, you see your destination ahead. It is not one of the great pyramids, but a smaller, older shrine on the city's edge, a place sacred to Tlaloc, built near the water's edge. As the procession leaves the main causeway and enters the plaza before the shrine, the roar of the general populace subsides, as they are held back by the temple guards. Only the priests, the dancers, and the offerings may enter this final, most sacred space. The thunder of the great drums gives way to the higher, more intense rhythm of smaller ceremonial drums. The air grows quiet, charged with a new and terrifying intimacy. The long public spectacle is over. You have crossed the stage. Now, as you lead the 7 children toward the steps of the blue-painted shrine, the final, terrible, and most sacred act is about to begin. You lead the 5 small children up the steps of the blue-painted shrine. As you pass through the carved stone entryway, you leave the world of the living behind and enter the antechamber of the gods. The air inside is cool and damp, carrying the heavy, sweet scent of thousands of marigold blossoms that have been strewn across the floor and piled on the altar. The walls are covered in vibrant frescoes depicting the paradise of Tlalocan, a land of eternal green, filled with butterflies and fruit trees, where the souls of those claimed by water go to rest. It is a beautiful, serene, and deeply deceptive room. In the center of the shrine stands the altar, a single large block of dark polished stone. Beside it, on a clean white cloth, lie the tools of your trade, the sacred vessels to hold the offerings, and the ceremonial knives, their black obsidian edges gleaming in the torchlight. The great drums have fallen silent. The only sound now is the high, thin, hypnotic rhythm of a single small drum and the soft, wailing notes of a bone flute. The priestesses lead the children to the space before the altar, and then, With practiced reverence, they retreat, leaving you alone with them. The children, who were dazed and overwhelmed during the procession, now seem to sense the change in atmosphere. The comforting noise and motion have been replaced by a focused, terrifying quiet. Their eyes, wide and dark, fix on the stone altar, on the gleaming knives. The oldest among them, a girl, lets out a small, choked sob. This is the moment. This is the omen, the most sacred part of this ritual. The tears of children were the purest form of water, a sympathetic magic to call the rain from the sky. A sacrifice without tears was a poor offering, a sign of a hardened heart, an unwelcome gift. Your job was not just to kill them. Your job was to make them weep. You let the mask of the divine, impassive leader fall away, and you replace it with another. You become the terrifying God mask you are wearing. You draw yourself up to your full height, the great feathered headdress making you seem like a giant in the small shrine. You stare down at them, your face painted with the goggle-eyed visage of the rain god, a mask of inhuman strangeness. You say nothing. Your silence, your sheer imposing presence, is a more potent tool of terror than any threat. The little boy you took from Atisapan, who has been so unnervingly quiet, looks up at you. His brief period of comfort in the temple is over, and the original terror returns with a vengeance. His face crumples. A single, perfect tear traces a path through the dust on his cheek. He begins to cry, a thin, high, desolate sound that echoes in the silent shrine. His tears are a signal. The other children, their own fear validated and amplified by his, begin to weep as well. Soon the shrine is filled with the sound of their collective sorrow. It is the most terrible sound in the world, and it is the most beautiful omen. It is the sound of success. A grim satisfaction fills you. The tears are flowing. The god will be pleased. You raise your hands and begin the final prayer, your powerful, chanted voice, a stark counterpoint to the heartbreaking sound of the children's cries. You address them, but your words are for Tlaloc. Do not weep for your life on this earth, little jewels. You chant, your voice echoing off the stone walls. Weep for joy, for you have been chosen. You will not die. You will be sent. You will be messengers. Your tears today become the rain of tomorrow. Your breath becomes the mist on the mountains. Go now to Tlalocan. Go and deliver our plea. The prayer ends. The flutes wail. The single drum beats a frantic, faster rhythm. Ixtli and Etztli step forward from the shadows to flank the altar. The time for words is over. The omen has been received. You turn to the altar and pick up the largest of the obsidian knives. It feels cold and heavy in your hand, a perfect and terrible instrument. Everything has led to this single moment. All the planning, all the fear, all the monstrous acts. It has all come down to this. You turn from the altar to face the first of the weeping children. The final part of your job has begun. You hold the black obsidian knife. It is a beautiful and terrible thing. A sliver of volcanic glass, chipped to an edge so fine it seems to disappear into the air. It is not a weapon of war. It is a tool of theology, an instrument for opening a gateway between the world of men and the world of gods. You turn to the first child, the small boy from Atisapan, Ixtli and Etztli, their faces grim and unreadable masks. Gently but firmly take his arms and lead him to the stone altar. His weeping has subsided into small, hiccuping sobs. He does not struggle. He is limp with terror. This is the moment, the culmination of all your work, all your fear. And in this moment, the man inside you, the one who feels pity and guilt, must die. He is a liability. Only the priest can remain. Your mind becomes a cold, clear, and quiet space. All emotion evaporates, burned away by the sheer, crushing necessity of the task. Your focus narrows. The world disappears. There is only the altar, the offering, and the proper execution of your duty. It is the most important job in the universe, and your professionalism must be absolute. Your thoughts are not of the child. They are a clinical, precise checklist. The posture must be correct. The body arched over the stone to present the chest properly. Ixtli is already doing his part, positioning the small form with practiced efficiency. The first incision must be swift and precise, below the ribs, angled upwards toward the heart. A simple, fluid motion. You raise the knife. Your hand is perfectly steady. The exhaustion, the hunger, the days of anxiety, it all vanishes, replaced by a surgeon's unblinking focus. You make the cut. The heart, the precious eagle cactus fruit, must be removed while it is still alive with tonali, with life force. Your hand works with a speed and confidence that feels disconnected from your own body, as if another, more ancient and skilled self has taken over. The offering must be raised to the effigy of the god without delay. You lift the heart. In the cool air of the shrine, steam rises from it. It is a potent omen, a sign of a strong, warm life force being given. You hold it up to the goggle-eyed statue of Tlaloc, your voice ringing out in the formal, high-pitched chant of offering, dedicating this precious water to the thirsty god. The drum, which had been frantic, falls silent at the exact moment of the offering. It is done. Perfectly. Ixtli, his eyes tightly shut, steps forward with a carved stone vessel, the Quaxacali. His hands tremble. He does not speak. His lips move in a silent prayer not found in any codex. He dares not look at the child. You place the heart inside. The body is swiftly removed from the altar by the other temple attendants, and the process begins again. The second child is brought forward. The third, the fourth, the fifth. With each repetition, the act becomes more mechanical. The immense, adrenaline-fueled focus of the first offering gives way to a state of detached, almost monotonous efficiency. You are no longer a man performing a terrible act. You are a functionary on an assembly line of the sacred. Your movements become economical, precise, honed by 1,000 previous sacrifices. The checklist runs in your head automatically. Posture correct, incision clean, heart lifted, chant performed. You are a master of your terrible craft. The horror is subsumed by the sheer, repetitive labor of the task. This is your job. This is the work that keeps the sun in the sky. When the fifth and final offering has been made, and the last heart has been placed in its stone vessel, a profound silence descends upon the shrine. The drums have stopped. The flutes are quiet. The weeping has ended. There is only the sound of your own ragged breathing and the faint crackle of the incense brazier. You stand over the altar, the obsidian knife still clutched in your hand. Your magnificent ceremonial robes are spattered and heavy with blood. The professional trance, the cold, clear focus that sustained you, begins to recede. The adrenaline fades, and a wave of exhaustion so profound that your knees buckle washes over you. You have done it. The quota has been met. The ritual has been executed without flaw. The offerings have been sent. You have performed your duty. You have done your unbearably stressful job. You stand in the quiet, blood-spattered shrine, and the world slowly returns to you. The frantic beating of the drum in your memory fades, replaced by the sound of your own ragged breath and the frantic, desperate pounding of your own heart. The obsidian knife slips from your trembling fingers, and clatters onto the stone floor. The sound is shockingly loud. The professional calm, a hard shell that allowed you to perform your duty, shatters into 1,000 pieces. You told yourself the man inside you had died before the first offering, but now, here in the silence and the blood, you realize he was only hiding, curled up behind the mask, waiting for the screams to stop. A wave of nausea, exhaustion, and a deep, soul-shaking tremor washes over you. Your legs give way. You would fall, but Ixtli is suddenly at your side, his strong hand gripping your arm, holding you up. You look at him, and his face, for the first time, is not a mask of pragmatism, but one of profound, shared exhaustion. On your other side, Ixtli is chanting. His eyes squeeze shut, but he is also there, supporting you. In this moment, you are not rivals or co-conspirators. You are simply 3 men bound together by the terrible, sacred act they have just completed. Acolytes move into the shrine with a practiced, quiet efficiency. They do not look at you. They clean the altar. They gather the sacred vessels containing the offerings. They wrap the obsidian knives in clean cloth. They are tidying up the office after a difficult day's work. Slowly, leaning on your fellow priests, you make your way out of the dark, incense-heavy shrine and back out onto the high platform into the blinding, indifferent light of the sun. The world is waiting. The plaza before the shrine is filled with a silent multitude. The dancers, the warriors, the nobles, the other priests, they are all there, their faces turned up toward you. The entire procession stands frozen, a silent, painted army. And beyond them, you can hear the faint, distant roar of the 100,000 people held back on the Great Causeway. An entire city is holding its breath. They are all looking at you. They see the blood on your magnificent blue robes. They see the spent energy in your posture. They see you as the man who has just returned from speaking with a god. And in their 1,000 pairs of eyes, there is one single, desperate question. You have done your part. You have managed the project, solved the logistical nightmare, performed the monstrous transaction, and executed the final, terrible ritual with flawless precision. You have done everything in your power, but the final result was never in your hands. You lift your heavy, exhausted head and turn your own gaze upwards to the sky. It is a sheet of perfect, brilliant, and unforgiving blue. There is not a single cloud. There is no hint of moisture, no promise of a coming storm. There is only the sun, beating down with a dry, relentless heat. You stand there, a priest spattered in blood, before a silent crowd, under an empty sky. And you wait. This is the final, most unbearable part of your job. The silence after the offering, the waiting for a sign. Did it work? Was the offering accepted? Were the tears of the 7 children enough to satisfy the god's thirst? Or was it all for nothing? Was your desperate, taboo-breaking act a heroic success? Or was it a final, unforgivable blasphemy? The silence stretches. The sun beats down. The sky remains empty. And in that vast, terrible quiet, you stand with the weight of a silent God and a waiting people on your shoulders, not knowing if you are their savior or the architect of their final doom. And so, we fade from the sun-beaten plaza, from the scent of blood and marigolds, and from the silent, waiting priest, a man forever frozen in a moment of terrifying suspense. As the story recedes, and we find ourselves once more in the quiet of our own modern nights, perhaps we can take a moment to appreciate the simple stability of our own world. The quiet miracle of a weather forecast that tells of the coming rain with calm certainty. The tap in the kitchen that provides clean, cool water with a simple turn of the wrist. The pantry, full of food that did not need to be bargained for with tears. These are the quiet luxuries he could only have dreamed of. They are the legacy of a people who lived and died by the cycles of the sun and the thirst of the gods, who built monuments to eternity to house their desperate hopes. And now it is time for our own quiet, time to find peace, time to be thankful for the rain that comes without a price, time to sleep.